Hi everyone!
You're listening to SciPub,
where we are talking science.
Not only for the experts, but for everyone.
Welcome to a new episode.
Hello everyone, this is Jana.
It's Asle.
And you're listening to SciPub. Today with us we have Julia Urgell. She is a PhD student at both CRG and MELIS UPF here at PRBB. And our today's topic is cancer. Your PhD is in cancer, I believe. So thank you so much for coming here and being here with us.
Thank you for inviting me, girls. It's so nice to be here.
So I want to start with general questions for you. So can you explain in simple term that what is cancer?
So in my belief, cancer is just this extreme proliferation of our cells. It's completely uncontrolled. So in general terms, I would say it's just like our own cells playing against and fighting our own healthy cells. And this is when it becomes tricky.
Okay, so the following up question could be, so what mutations then?
The term mutation stands basically for a change that happens in the DNA of these cells, so the genetic information that these cells contain. But mutation doesn't directly relate to something negative. Like, mutations are what make us three different and what also made evolution happen. But in some cases, these mutations can affect some genes that can be crucial for the correct proliferation, division of cells. And these effects can determine this extensive proliferation of the cells. And this is when cancer occurs. Some changes are bad, some changes are good.
Yeah, thanks for the explanation. And my next question is that could you tell us about different therapeutic approaches in cancer as well?
So I believe that the most common ones and known ones are chemotherapy and radiotherapy, which chemotherapy stands for using chemicals to treat it, and radiotherapy, commonly is X-rays to treat the cancer. The thing is that these approaches are really general, so they might affect both healthy and cancer cells. Nowadays, research is more focused on finding something more targeted, something that would be more specific for certain cancer types or certain patients per se. Like, it can be that a patient has a specific mutation, and this mutation leads to a type of cancer, like with specific characteristics, let's say. And this way, these characteristics can be targeted more directly. And one type of therapy that it's more linked to this is immunotherapy. So some cancers, depending on how they evolve, they have what are called antigens. So they can be identified specifically and differentiated from healthy cells because of these proteins, these antigens that are on the membranes or others. And this can be a very important strategy nowadays to target cancer.
Emerging therapies that you find exciting for you?
I think that everything is linked to this target therapy. Yeah. In my case, I study metabolism, and this is an emerging field. Like, it has been shown that every cancer type can have specific changes in metabolism, since how they obtain the energy or they build the blocks for proteins, for everything that they need. So also seeing the changes that occur in this metabolism might be essential for targeting these kind of cells. But I think it's very, very important that whenever we have a patient, we identify which characteristics their cancer has, and then make it a bit more personalized, if possible, of course.
Yeah, sure. That would be amazing. We'll see. Well, now you already started talking about it a little bit, but I wanted to ask you about your project. What are you working on, and if you can explain a bit?
Of course. As I said, I focus on metabolism, but I most specifically study lung cancer, and not all of them, but non-small cell lung cancer, which is basically phenotypic. So it's a dimension thing. Like, all the cells that are big are called non-small cell lung cancer. And I focus on the metabolism of these cells when they contain two mutations. One is TP53, which is known as the guardian of the genome, and the other one is KRAS, which is an accelerator of the growing process. So the idea is to identify which genes of the metabolism are essential for the survival of the cells and for the growth of the cells, and then try to use some available drugs to target these genes or the protein that that translates from these genes.
It sounds really interesting. Yeah. But since you already started talking about it, can you tell us more about guardian of the genome protein known as P53?
P53 is really, really important because in half of the cancers, in half of the patients that suffer from cancer, P53 is mutated. It can be mutated in different ways. But the idea is that, as we said, it's the guardian of the genome. It controls many different pathways from many different branches, and it makes sure that the cell stops growing or dividing when there's an error, such as a mutation, or when it shouldn't be dividing in general terms. So whenever this protein fails to do its job, the cell is free to go. Like you have a car that you are controlling, so you have a stop, like the brakes, but then the brake stops working, so the car just goes. So it happened the same with P53 in this case.
And how about metabolism? You already talked about it too, but if you can explain a bit more, how is it related specifically to cancer?
In general terms, there are things that are known that are kind of common in cancers in metabolism, but not all of them are targetable, let's say. Like the most common feature of metabolism that happens in cancer is the Warburg effect, which is basically a change in how the energy, like glucose, is used for these cells. Like commonly, this glucose is taken and goes through a very complex cycle, which allows it to obtain a lot of energy, but it takes a long while, and it also requires of oxygen, which in the tumors, since we have like a bunch of cells, not all of them are receiving as much oxygen as a normal tissue, let's say. So they are a big hypoxic, no? Like they don't have this much oxygen available. So they change to the lactate production, let's say. So they obtain this glucose, and they go through a very simple path, and from here they obtain very little energy, but it's quite fast, and they don't require from oxygen. And this would be like the most general one. But it can happen many changes in 100 different pathways from the metabolism in each of them.
I think we all learned about some of them in school.
Yes,
it gave us trouble in biology, Krebs cycle and similar fats.
Definitely, for sure.
And last question in this part would be, how can your research be applied in future, or how can it benefit some patients? Can you tell us a bit about it?
I believe that knowing about the metabolism of each cell is very important, such as we talked that it's important to be targeted about. But there's one thing that currently is being used, and it's a combination between immune therapy and metabolism targeting. And I believe that, for instance, for cells such as the ones that are mutated in TP53, which present a lot of neoantigens, so they have like a lot of these receptors, these proteins around the cell that can be identified. No, sometimes this is not enough. Like some of the cells will be targeted, they will be killed, but some others will remain. So if we combine two strategies, this will increase the amount of cancer cells that we would be actually destroying. So I think that knowing, again, for a specific type of cancer, because we can't take this into consideration like all the different kinds, but for this lung cancer that contains these mutations, we can target these two vias together, and then we can have maybe more effective results. But this will come in the clinical setting more than.
Of course.
But yeah, I think that would be something nice to take from it.
So we asked the public what are their questions as the researcher in this field, and we came up with some questions to ask you. They asked that, is cardiovascular health actually related to cancer?
I don't think there's maybe like a direct correlation, but I think that maybe there are some causalities, meaning If you have some heart-related diseases, it can be maybe because you smoked, or because your how do you say this? Whatever you eat, if you do sports, etc. So all of these things actually can be also leading to cancer. Like if you don't do enough sports, or if you have like a sedentary life, or if you smoke. For instance, lung cancer is like a clear example of this. And smoking, it's really morbidity cause for both cancer and heart diseases. I would say that's.
Other question of them is like, what kind of cancer is the most harmful for in the body?
I have two answers for this. There's lung cancer is the deadliest cancer type, let's say. It's also very common. Like, I think it's 2.2 million every year are diagnosed with lung cancer. And the thing is that it's almost about the same amount that die from it after commonly like 5-year rate, etc. But this is because there are a lot of cases and there's a lot unknown about it. So there is the one that causes the most deaths. But then there's pancreatic cancer. This is commonly diagnosed in very late stages. So here we have a problem also of diagnosis. And the thing is that in late stages it becomes very aggressive and it's very difficult to treat. And it tends to lead to a very bad prognosis, unfortunately. So I think these two, in their own ways, are the most complicated ones.
Yeah. And the third question could be, what's the common way for cancer to develop? Like, how they develop in the body?
There are different theories about this. Like the most standard one is like the stem cell theory. So you have already some cells that are capable of reproducing your body. They are the ones leading to the regeneration of tissues whenever there's a damage, etc. And sometimes, if they are reproducing a lot, they can accumulate mutations, and with these mutations, it leads to this proliferation, this uncontrolled proliferation, of these cells. And then from here, many things can happen, like they avoid the immune system, they are able to produce angiogenesis, so new vessels, like blood vessels, arrive, and they get all the nutrients they need from it.
Since we were in that topic, there also another question that how can you avoid cancer in the body?
Okay, I think avoiding is very complicated. But preventing is another thing. Like, if we come back to what we were saying about the causes of cancer, no? Like, there's one part that it's luck, one part that it can be genetics or epigenetics, like something else, but related to whatever is already inside the cell. But we can also prevent some unhealthy things for our body, such as smoking or diet or sports or all of these things. So if we keep a nice, healthy life or lifestyle, I think this could help. That would be...
Maybe we are reducing chances.
We reduce something. Like, don't stay in the sun without the SPF, I don't know, things like this. But, you know, like, avoiding is a very, very big word, I think.
What are researchers doing to treat cancer over the years? Like, in a couple of sentences, I don't know.
I think that the things that they are doing, very, very different things all over the globe. Like, there's people that target these epigenetics, like extra genetic changes. Some people are looking for specific mutations. Some other looks for secondary pathways, things like this. So there are many different things to be targeted. And as we said, like, it's different from cancer to cancer. Like, we talk about cancer as a one single disease, but it's actually different depending on the individual that is suffering from it. So I think that there are so many different fields that they are actually tackling now that will lead, hopefully, to new...
Something will be...
Yes, exactly.
Well, now we should jump to a completely other topic, but I don't think that it's less interesting. If you can maybe tell us a bit about your path. How did you get here?
I think that I decided to study cancer like kind of an early age, early. I was like 16 years old. And I think that as many people that probably are working in cancer is because it touched me personally, like people that I had in my life. And then I just focused like all my efforts to enter research. So I did some internships, I applied to some scholarships for young people, etc. I studied human biology with the objective of getting into research, because I knew I was not the kind to become a medical doctor or something like this. I am very apprehensive, like blood is not my thing. So I really wanted to help that maybe from the first steps, no? So then I did the same master that you guys are doing, because it's focused on research, so it would allow me to spend more time on the bench. COVID happened, so it was a bit tricky. But I think that all the steps I took were focused on at least trying to do something. And actually, I chose to be also included in TP53 because I know how important it is in the field. Although there are a lot of things known about this, like every year there are thousands of papers of P53, but still it's not possible to target it. So I thought that maybe I could just bring something into the story, to the picture. But yeah.
That's amazing. That's quite impressive.
But I don't know if I ever gonna make it, but I will try as much as I can.
Oh, that's plenty. You can describe what is it like to do 2 PhDs in the same time?
Yes.
How did you apply for a PhD that includes 2 centers in the same time? It's really interesting.
To be honest, during my master's, I was doing the minor project, like we had this major and this minor. So the minor project, I was doing it here with Anna Janic. And at the same time, during the master's, we received a talk of Sara Stelzi from CRG. And I was quite impressed with her job. So I talked to Anna about her. And she said, yeah, I know her. I went to talk to Sara. I talked to her. I said that I was interested on performing some PhD research with her. And it was quite fast and natural. So since they knew each other, they were also thinking on collaborating. I was just like the missing piece in between. And now I'm literally in between them. Like sometimes it can be tricky, but I think it's very nice the fact that they are both they have different expertise, and then merging them, it's kind of very productive for my prosper career, I think.
That's amazing. I would maybe like to do that. I don't know. But I didn't hear about it before, so this was my...
There are a few people I know that they are doing it, but commonly what happens is that you have like a main supervisor, and then you have a secondary supervisor. In my case, they both have the same weight. Yeah, exactly.
That's really interesting.
Yeah, doubling responsibility.
Yeah. Double meetings. Yeah, double organizing. Okay.
We have to make few arrangements to make everything work, but yeah.
In some aspects it may be bad, in some others I think it's really good.
Pros and cons, for sure.
And how about your future plans? What do you plan on doing after you finish your PhD? It will be soon, I think, I believe.
Well, hopefully sooner than later. Yeah, I have approx 1 year and a half left now. I would like to start wrapping up the story that we have been working in for the last 2 years and a half. My idea after the PhD, hopefully everything works fine, I would like to maybe move to a more translational research. I'm not 100% sure about what I will do or where I will do it, because I still have some time to think, but I would like to see something applied of what I do. I think it's something that I still have inside of me that it's missing. But let's see, as plans change every year, I change my mind about things, so you really never know.
Life.
Yeah.
This is called life.
Exactly. I would still like to continue in oncology field, that's for sure.
That makes sense.
But
That's good enough. Huh? Some people jump to a completely different field, so if you already know this,
I think this is my
for now it's good. No, but in a year and a half you have plenty of time to decide, I think.
I'm gonna ask you some advice for our researchers. So what do you suggest them in this field and in their career pathway?
I think that the most important thing is to find something that you're really passionate about, because especially if you do a PhD or academia itself, it can be very tough sometimes, and it has very beautiful things, but it's a difficult path sometimes. But it's nice, it's beautiful, but it's difficult. One thing doesn't take out the other. But if you find something that you're really motivated on, although there are ups and downs, because I am the first one that sometimes I'm in love with my project and sometimes I'm like, oh no, what am I doing? You end up finding the way and you end up enjoying it. And also find a nice lab with nice people. I think that's a very important thing. Like the environment, it's crucial for your development. So I think that's you asked for one, I gave two, but I think these are the two most important ones.
So, do you have any close-up words for audience?
Okay, as a lung cancer researcher, just like don't smoke, guys.
Okay.
I think that's enough. That's the most important one for me right now.
Thank you for being our guest and answering our question and spending your time with us and so on.
Thanks for inviting me, girls. Super nice. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
This talk was amazing, and we hope our listeners have their doubts solved now.
And if you have any questions more, just make a comment.
yeah, you can write us, of course. And yeah, I learned a lot about this project. I knew some things, but now it's very more clear and it's really nice.
Thank you very much for having me.
Thank
It
you
was
so
very
much.
nice.